Good morning. Hello again. Hello again everyone and welcome to another video. So this video is kind of different because it's not a vlog and it's not a cover. Basically it's just me giving advice to anyone who's gonna take the CETS this year or in the next years. So let us start. So first I'll be talking about what I actually did. I started studying for the CETS the summer before senior year. That summer I wasn't really that productive as well. So classes finished at around March. I rested for about 1 month, which was the whole month of April. My grade 11 was really jam-packed, so I needed a full month or even longer to regain my mental health. Basically after that rest period, I got nervous or kind of pressured to study because I saw all of my batchmates studying on their stories. Somehow it pressured me to start studying as well. So by the last week of April, I compiled different reviewers from online. I started to ask different people, the older batches, if they had any tips or other review materials they could share with me so that I wouldn't have to spend a large amount to buy review materials. I started studying at the end of May, the end-ish, or mga 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of May. My self-study consisted of me answering online tests or mock or practice exams online. So that's what I used for my self-studying for the 2 weeks of May. By June, I started my review center, and my review center was brain train. It was harder for me to separate time to do other things that I wanted to do because it was summer, so I wanted to relax as well. But it was hard for me to balance both my being productive and me being able to relax. So what I did was prioritize my set or my being productive because I knew that when I had school, it was going to be harder for me to study. Basically, what I did when I had review center was, okay, I'll be in review center until 3. When I get home, I would rest for 1 hour, and then after that, I would be rereading my notes or rewriting them, my notes from brain train. I rest again, and usually at this time, I'd be eating dinner or just rest if I wasn't hungry. And then after that, I have my own self-study period. So I had brain train notes and my own notes from online reviewers. And then at around 11 o'clock, I would go to sleep. Then when I had classes already, it was really hard again for me to give time to study for the sets. So I knew that I had to choose what to prioritize. It was either studying for my sets or studying for my school academics. And some people are able to balance both and really excel well, and congrats, ang galing nyo. But I'm not like that, so I had to choose what to prioritize, and I chose my set. But if you were to choose your school academics, it would also affect your future in some way. It was more beneficial, I think, for me to study the sets during school times when I had short breaks like recess or lunch or when the teacher is late. I tried to go back or rewrite my other notes. Yeah, basically during school days, so Monday to Friday, that would be what I would do. Because when I get home, I had to do a lot of my schoolwork. I also tried to make it a point to do my schoolwork until around 10 and give at least 1 hour, 10 to 11, for my sets. So I think it's good that you were able to at least give 1 hour of every day and give it to sets. By the weekends, during Saturdays, I would be focusing or trying to finish all the schoolwork that I had to do. Then by Sunday, I would be resting plus doing review for my sets again. Yeah, that was basically what I did. I'm happy to say that I was able to pass all my sets. That's basically what worked for me, but what would work for you or for other people may be different. Now I will be digging into the specifics. My academic preparation. The sets I took were the big 4, basically LaSalle, UST, Ateneo, and UP. So first, let's start with how to apply. So when you go to their websites or when you search for the application requirements, there will be a list of what you have to prepare. And that, I think, is the number one thing that I have to say, which is apply early. You would be needing a lot of pictures, so 1x1 pictures. This can be different sizes depending on the university you'll be going to or you'll be applying to. Make sure that you know the specific measurements. And also, I want to highlight for Ateneo, you have to get recommendation letters, 2 recommendation letters, and 1 personal essay. The teachers you ask to file your recommendation papers, make sure they like you and that you have a close relationship with them and that they know you personally, not only as a student but as a person as well. And then for the personal essay, when I applied, it was what was something life-defining experience you had in your life. What advice I can give when you write the essay is that make sure it's not that long, kasi who would read? Imagine how many people are applying, and if you write a really long one, they might just... So it's better to make it kind of short, simple, but make sure also that you get your message across and that you are able to show who you are. So now, time for the actual content of each set. Let's start with Ateneo. So for Ateneo, there are 2 parts, part 1 and part 2. Part 1 consisted of math and language proficiency, plus the personal essay the essay that we'll have to do on the spot. I think what was hard about the asset was that it was really time consuming, or the time was really limited. And as you hear from other people, the asset is not something that is actually meant to be finished. Just make sure that you try your best to answer each part, but don't worry if you don't finish it, kasi normal naman yun. Like, there's a lot of people who don't finish the asset and they still pass. So don't think that if you didn't finish it, wala ka ng chance at all to pass Ateneo. So for part 1, so math was a separate time, and then language proficiency along with the essay was a different time slot as well, but both were together. So make sure that you are aware of your time, which is why you should wear a watch. Please wear a watch when you take all the sets. Don't use all your time to finish the language proficiency. Try to leave some time for you to do the essay, especially if you are not a good writer and it's hard for you to do on-the-spot stuff. But for me, part 1 was kind of easy. I mean, it was the easier part compared to part 2. My god, part 2. Because numerical ability, when I tell you I guessed everything. Actually, hindi naman everything, but most. I thought I got it. Math, I was able to answer the first part of math. The second part, good luck na lang. For you to be able to practice answering these parts, it's not something you can actually study, like abstract reasoning and logical reasoning, but it's something you can study or something you can prepare for by taking tests. Kasi, abstract reasoning, like the shape patterns, it's not something you can study. What I can say or suggest to practice for this part is basically take a lot of practice tests. All in all, what I can say about the asset was that the scale of 1 to 10, it is 8 over 10, I mean, in hardness level. The topics mismo or the questions in the asset weren't hard. It was something you can answer, something I could answer. But what made it hard was that the time was really limited. So, kunwari, there's like 5 math equations and everything you had to solve. I had to pick the shorter ones because everything is equal to 1 point. If there are 5 numbers that are all solving and there were 5 numbers that you could solve on the spot, which ones would you pick, diba? I suggested that you scan over the questions quickly and see which ones are easy to solve, and that's what you should do first, because you will probably save more time answering those 5 questions than those 5 word problems, diba? And then the essay was it's not really something you should be scared about. For us, they just gave a word and we had to write essay about it.
A blue eagle.
So now for the UPCAT. We had math, science, reading comprehension, and language proficiency. So what I can advise for math is that study on trigonometry, and algebra. Kasi when I took the UPCAT, that was what most of the questions consisted of. Then for science, luckily it was full of physics and biology. And sumakto din na yun yung mga inaral ko because if it was chem questions, it's over. And then we had language proficiency, which is basically basic rules of grammar and your English lessons. Tapos, reading comprehension, for me, was the most time-consuming din. Kasi, imagine, okay, there's 2 pages. This is one story, and this was a continuation of the other story. Sometimes, there'd be 2 pages of that. So, imagine how long it would take to answer or read one paragraph and then answer. So, it took really long. There's also Filipino reading comprehension, so make sure that you practice doing reading passages both in English and in Filipino. I suggest that for the reading comprehension part, you read the questions first for that passage, and then after you read the questions, it's easier for you to scan the passage, and when you see a keyword that was in the question, you can start actually reading from that part. That really helped me answer quickly and faster. So for UP, the system is right minus 1/4 wrong. It's better to leave a blank than answer wrong. You fill all the blanks for the other entrance exams. But for UP, it is right minus 1/4 wrong. So having more mistakes than more blanks will make your score lower. So mas safe na i-blank nyo na lang. So just don't take the risk because it will make your score lower. This is the last option. If you really have no clue what the answer is, leave it blank. This is for the UPCAT only though. The good thing about the UPCAT was that the science for me was really easy. And maybe it's because the topics that I studied or the topics that I liked were the ones that were included. But in general, the science was the easiest part. So if I would rate it, science was easy. English was also good. Math was challenging and the reading comprehension was challenging. So that's where I think you should focus your studying on. So if I were to rate the UPCAT also, it would be 8.5 over 10. Next is the USTED. Ito yung pinakamahirap na set ever. So for UST, the topics were math, science, English, and mental ability. So for me, again, science was easy. It's something you can answer. Or for language proficiency or basic English, the questions were about grammar as well as oral com topics. So if you forgot your grade 11 oral com topics, please touch up on that. And there was also a question apart for mental ability, which was just, these weren't academic questions. This was like logical reasoning, abstract reasoning, which is all mixed together. Science, English, and the mental ability they're good. They were challenging, but I was able to answer it. But then, math. When I saw the questions sa USTED ng math, grabe, sabi ko. Anyway, so basically math is really hard, and my mindset during that time when I saw the questions was bahala na. Kasi in the beginning, when I was looking at the questions, whoa, I could answer it. Ang dali, ang dali. And then sa middle and the last parts, it's like asking me to calculate stuff where I needed to use a calculator. If you think asset was time-consuming, UST was a different level. Sobrang kulang yung time for you to answer all the questions. In the math, I guessed everything. As in, no joke. I guessed everything there. So if I was to rate this, it would be 9 over 10. So it's the hardest talaga. 9 over 10. Future tomations. Kaya nyo yun. Next we have LaSalle or the dlsu set. This was okay, except for a certain part which was hard. Basically for LaSalle, you have the same topics, which was math, science, language proficiency, abstract and logical reasoning, a personality test, and statistics, which is a separate part from math. So math was fairly easy. I was able to answer it as well as science. And then for language proficiency or English, it was also easy because the content was mostly from the other sets na din, so it was easier for me to answer. But for LaSalle pala, you have to also focus on the standards of academic writing, or basically APA citation and all of that, because this is the part of English in LaSalle that wasn't in any of the other sets I took. So please touch up on APA citation and standards of academic writing. The abstract and logical reasoning is basically like the asset na din. It's like shapes or always true, always false, sometimes true, sometimes false, questions like that. So just touch up on that. But what was hard for me was statistics. So as you probably know now, I'm not good at math and I hate math. I do not like the z-test, normal distribution curve, t-test, median, mean, mode. So all of that had their own part in the dlsu set. So overall, I would give LaSalle a 7 out of 10 because the stats was really hard, but everything else was manageable and something you can answer. Lastly, here are my study tips. So first, make a schedule and follow it. So this schedule can be either a day-to-day routine or a weekly routine that you can follow to make sure that you study and you are on track. Because there are a lot of topics for each set. So you have to make sure that you're able to divide into individual days each topic to make sure that you're able to cover all of it or everything. Next is make flashcards. Basically, what I put on the flashcards were the math formulas and the science formulas that I had, and also some vocabulary words. So it's really an easy way to bring notes with you on the go, especially when you don't have space in your bag. You can just bring those out and then start studying. Third, again, you can use applications. There are different apps that can help you with studying for the sets, and the app that I used was about vocabulary words, which was basically a game where there's a word and you have to find the meaning, and it helped me broaden my vocabulary, which is something you need when you enter the asset. Fourth tip, as I said, don't cram. Make sure that you start early kasi I swear the topics, they are a lot and it's hard to cover everything if you will start late. So please start on time and make sure that you follow the schedule that you have created for yourself. 5 is review with others. So for me, self-studying works, but I need review time to study with my friends. So what I do is during self-study, I write my notes and all. Then when I study with my friends, we question each other about the different topics. So that really helps me absorb information more and retain it in my memory. So if for you, working with a group works, then do it. But if not, then it's fine. But honestly, I would suggest reviewing with others. My 6th tip is take practice or mock tests. This, I cannot highlight the importance or how important this is in your CETS review, because you are able to gauge how much you know, gauge what topics you have to study more, and make sure that when you take these practice or mock tests, you give yourself a certain amount of time, because you really need to be able to practice to simulate how you'll do in the actual entrance exam. Also, practice shading because there are different ways to shade, and the easiest way for me was to do this circle way. Every second will count. So if you're able to shade faster, it would really help. Next tip is for motivation. So a lot of people have a hard time with motivating themselves, especially when not right now while in quarantine, because we're all not in the mood to do anything. What I like to do, or what I did, was basically remind yourself of your goal. This goal can be a short-term goal or it could be your long-term goal. So example is you wanting to be a doctor, you wanting to be a lawyer, you wanting to help others. So that simple goal can already serve as your motivation. So remind yourself, have a goal and remind yourself of that goal. So once you have it in your mind, make sure to write it down, post it on a place that you will always see. Another way to motivate yourself is to ask help from others. This can be either from friends or from family. When I was studying, I had a lot of mental breakdowns where I just wanted to cry, and being able to share how I felt with my family or with my friends really helped with the way I thought and with my mindset regarding the CETS and my future. And another motivation again was watching YouTubers who are productive. But I watch a lot of YouTubers who are studying. My favorite YouTubers are Sophie Concho, Aliana Ross, Jocelyn Nicole, Karagan, Bianca Gan. I just like being able to see someone being productive because it motivates me more. Make sure that you reward yourself when you finish a certain part. Okay, kunwari, you have this goal. Okay, I'll finish one chapter. After you finish that chapter, reward yourself with something. That may be a 10-minute nap, food. So this can be anything. Basta reward yourself to make it feel like, wow, you're actually accomplishing something, or you have that sense of accomplishment. We have reviewers, okay? There are a lot of free reviewers out there, but if you don't want to spend money at all, you can survive with free reviewers, I swear. There are so much online reviewers. You can find it on Twitter, on Google Docs. You can also use YouTube. You have Khan Academy, Crash Course. So all these actually helped me study for the CETS. If you don't want to spend at all, also you can also ask from your older siblings, your older friends who have already took the CETS, and you can ask for their review material. If you are the type of person who is willing to spend some money, I recommend buying dlsu books. So it is a pack of books, I think 5 or 6, or basically it's a pack, and you pay for the bundle. I also bought a book which was like Dummies 500 UPCAT tips. Yeah, yun. So I also recommend that. Basically what I'm saying is you can survive with free reviewers. You don't have to spend money to get good reviewers. Now we will be talking about if you should have a review center or if you should self-study. So for me, what worked was a mix of both. So the advantage lang of having a review center is that you will really have to study, or you will be forced to learn. Kasi pag self-study, it's hard to discipline yourself to study at this particular time. So what having a review center does is that it provides you with a working schedule and time where you are forced to study, and also provide an environment and people for you to study with. So I really liked having a review center. In self-studying, you would really need a strict sense of discipline and patience and time scheduling for that to work. You don't have to get a review center. I know some people who are just self-studying and they were able to get in the university that they wanted. At the end of the day, what was hardest for me was the waiting game, which was the period of time where you took all the sets and you just had to wait for the results. If you don't pass, first of all, there are stuff you can do to try to get into the university you like. So first is make a reconsideration or appeal. Another is, if you're an athlete, you can try to get in the school through the sports thing. I'm not really sure about how that works, but you can get in through sports, or you can get in through your talent or whatever you have. So don't lose hope yet. In your application forms, make sure that you know which courses are quota and non-quota. With one school, you have 3 choices. What I would suggest is try to make the 3 courses something you like, but make sure this one's the hardest to get into, this one's the kind of you can get into, and this one is kind of the easiest. So yeah, if all of those don't still work, And it means lang na you're meant to be somewhere else. Maybe it's not what you wanted, maybe it's not what you expected, but it's where you need to be. It is where you will grow the most, and it is where you will learn the most. Wherever you end up naman, if you have a good personality, or if you work hard, you can achieve your goal. With all that, thank you for watching this video. I hope it helped. Sobrang kalat nito. I don't know how I'm gonna organize it sa editing. I just want to be able to share what I went through because I know that a lot of people need advice on how to take the CETS. I want to say good luck and God bless.